we ready? Are we ready, Mamwina?
Yes.
Good afternoon, countrymen and women. Let me say that last week I was talking about the issue of drugs in hospitals. And in my discourse, I did mention or allude to the fact that extraordinary situations and circumstances call for extraordinary action and extraordinary decisions. The issue of the pending fuel prices in the whole world and in Zambia is an issue that requires extraordinary action. I'll repeat that. The issue of the impending fuel prices, increase of fuel prices, is an issue that requires extraordinary action. Listening to the presidential spokesperson, Anton Walia, 2 days ago, addressing the nation on the impending fuel prices 2 days ago, gives me a clear impression that the government is about to increase the price of fuel, pump price of fuel. That is petrol, diesel, kerosene, and of course A1 jet fuel. But I want to say this, that we've had 2 fuel price increase in the last 4 months. And yet, the earnings of an average Zambia, particularly civil servants, miners, doctors, etc., have remained stagnant. Meaning, therefore, that their spending power or their disposable income has drastically been reduced as a result of the consequences that goes with the increase in fuel prices. We all know that once fuel is increased, then all the commodities follow suit. Minimum prices will go up, transport for minibuses will go up, production costs for biscuits, whatever you think of, will all go up, including operation costs for equipment, machinery, and usables in industry. The end result is that all the products from manufacturing, from agriculture, will all go up. Now, if the price of all commodities go up and the earnings of the people remain stagnant, it simply means that the people are becoming poorer while the cost of living is going up. Right now, the increase in fuel prices is going to be necessitated by the war in Ukraine, which we all understand that the war in Ukraine will certainly lead to unstable prices of crude oil on the international market. That in itself presents a situation of extraordinary situation or extraordinary issue. And remember what I said in my opening remarks, that extraordinary actions or extraordinary situations call for extraordinary action. It will be unreasonable. I want to make it very clear. It will be unreasonable for ERB and government to keep increasing the price of fuel while the earnings of the people or the living standards of the people continue going down. Mr. Walia was saying on his press briefing that the previous government believed in expensive subsidies, and it's not sustainable to give subsidies. Yes, under normal circumstances, it is not too good to believe in subsidies. But when there is an extraordinary situation, mark my words, extraordinary situation as it is now presenting itself because of the Ukraine war, we must take extraordinary action. And this extraordinary action is to save the poor people from dying from hunger or out of hunger. Already, generally, people are failing to have 3 meals in a day. Some people even go for 2 days without ever having a reasonable meal. They are able to pick here and there kachitumbua or maybe a sweet potato. But to have a reasonable meal of breakfast, lunch, and supper, almost 50% of the population are failing. Now, if we say that if you increase the price of fuel now because of the war, you should also increase the salaries of civil servants, or you should also increase the salaries of those who work, it will simply mean the benefit of this extraordinary action will only affect those who work. So the best way to cover everybody is to subsidize the price of fuel. I want to make it very clear, Your Excellency President Hakainde Hichilema and your government, you have no option over this issue. There is no option whatsoever. You have to subsidize the price of fuel. Because if you increase the price of fuel next week, I can tell you that there will be misery in the communities. People will start eating vegetables and relish in general without cooking oil. Minibuses will not move because there will be no people to be jumping on the minibuses because the price of minibuses will go up. In the meantime, the earnings of the people, civil servants, nurses, who have to travel every day to their working places using the minibuses will remain the same. Now, with reduced disposable income, you cannot continue increasing the price of fuel. The UPND and I spoke about this issue when we were in an alliance, that we should cushion the people, particularly the poor people, if you call yourself a pro-poor government. What you are going to do over the price of fuel now will determine whether UPND is a pro-poor government or is a capitalist aimed at sustaining the businesses of the rich people. Because to run a government is not about making profits or to have a lot of money in reserves while the people are suffering. The whole essence of leadership is to provide a service to the people, to make sure that the people live a comfortable life. That is why there are governments. That is why governments are elected. And right now, we are presented with an extraordinary situation where the price of crude oil continues going up. But are we going to continue increasing the price of petrol, diesel, or fuel, as it were, while the people's earnings remain the same, while those who don't work remain unemployed? That is the test of a caring government. And I'm throwing it onto the government, this challenge, that please find money to subsidize the fuel. Otherwise, there is no reason to have a government if the people will continue until they start eating each other. Abantu balamba okuyidya muchibemba nga pali nsala abantu batila ukali omwana, and we don't want that situation to happen. Already people are suffering. We all know that the increase of fuel has been caused by Ukraine. which is an extraordinary situation. Nobody wants the fuel prices to go up, but at least we must subsidize the fuel now. People may say, but there's no money. A PF left the coffers without money. This is an extraordinary situation. It requires extraordinary action. We have got the SDR, special drawing rights, of 1.3 billion that the IMF gave us. Already we were told we're going to employ more teachers, we're going to employ health workers using the SDR, special drawing rights. We can also get some money from the SDR to cushion the poor people. After all, we are in leadership because we want to save the lives of the poor people. Secondly, you have a budget. Certain things that were budgeted for are not a matter of life and death, are not as emergencies, but they are there to build the economy for the future. So, money meant for those programs that are not very urgent, not of a matter of life and death, should now be redirected to the subsidies of fuel. Because fuel runs the economy. Without fuel, there will be no economy. And if the price of fuel continues going up, countrymen and women, even the micro parameters that we want to see, lower inflation, growth, would not mean anything to the people of Zambia. And let me appeal to my friends in the UPND that, like I've said, and I want to say it again, we don't want to see you fail. We want to see you succeed. Because when you succeed, then our people will live better lives. But when you fail, your failure will adversely affect the poor people. Please don't take this advice I've given you lightly and think I'm just politicking. We have seen your friend in Rwanda, Paul Kagame, yesterday issued a statement to say, sorry countrymen, subsidies are not good, but as the situation stands, I am forced to subsidize. Those are leaders who care about the poor people. Show us, UPND, that you care. Don't look at the balance sheet. Because to run a country is not about a balance sheet. A balance sheet applies mainly to business, where you want to make sure you make profits. But to run a country is wisdom from above, where you have to balance between the micro parameters and also the living standards of our people. We are not going to rush to say, let's lower the inflation, let's grow the economy, when the people are dying from hunger. Then why are you doing all those things if people are dying? The whole essence of leadership is to save the people. This is a better opportunity for UPND to prove that they care about the people and that they are not capitalists. Zambia has always been a partial capitalist and socialist. And this is now the time to use the socialist aspect to cushion the poor people. When you increase the price last month by about 4 kwacha. But as the prices stand now, if you have to increase the price, it's by close to 10 kwacha. Now the question is, are the people going to afford? Minister Msokotwane, are the people going to afford? President HH, my brother and friend. In Bemba they say, uakwebe mfwa, yakwanoko, mutanshi. Elo kabili alikwebele, tabulapo. Let us care about the poor people. Like I've said, there are a lot of things that have been budgeted for that are not emergencies. The issue of fuel increase is a matter of life and death. Because if somebody hasn't eaten, it's likely that those people will die. So we are now faced with an emergency, and we would want you to act responsibly and to act in the interest of the poor people. This is the action that we need to take now. Quickly, Finance Minister with your team, go and revisit your your budget, look at certain things that you've budgeted for, those that are not urgent, those are not of a matter of life and death, please suspend them, get the management for those programs, subsidize the fuel so that we don't have a general increase of food and all aspects that go with human endeavor. The average earning. I remember very well when we were in the opposition, my dear brother and friend H.H. said, in an economy like ours, where the average earning is about 3,800, we don't expect government to continue recovering student loans from students because the earnings are too low. When we come into office, we shall suspend student loans. That has not been done. But here you have to prove now that, my dear brother, you care for the people of Zambia. Think about the people in Wengwa. Think about the people in Mazabuka. Think about the people in Ikelengi. Think about the people in Mporokoso. Think about the people in Vubwi, Kawama, Mpatamato, Ron. Those are the people that we must now think of and focus. Our focus now should be that people must survive during this trying time of world increase in terms of fuel prices. My views and my advice, and advice is there to take it or leave it. I know some of the UPND followers who insult me and issue derogatory statements. I don't care about those things myself. Me, what I do is to advise where I feel I should advise. And if you have a problem with my advice, it is mere advice. I'm not forcing the government. But if I were president today, if I were in government as president today, I could have looked for money to subsidize the fuel because I care for the people of Zambia. Do you? Chishimba Kambwili, signing off.